Hey everybody, Chad here with Kitsap Mobile Home Outfitters, and we are going to do part 2 of this 2-part video. First part was the bathtub that has set overnight and is nice and solid and sound. And next we're going to be working on our Permalux 3-piece Lippert Components bath surround kit. This is the first wall. It's the right wall. Comes with a double-sided adhesive tape all the way around the outside edge. We're going to be using a tight bond product for adhesion, construction adhesive. You will only want to use what's recommended by the manufacturer, and that's a tight bond 3451. That's what we provide with this kit. And the first part of it is to test fit. Your easiest piece is going to be the opposite side of the valve, which is this side. In our case, we have a left-hand drain, so our right panel, we want to test fit that. Make sure it all lines up. Everything looks pretty good. So we're going to get some glue and get ready to glue this in. And then the next piece we'll do is we'll talk about how to measure and drill holes for our panel that goes with the valve. And then the back panel is the last panel. So let me get set up for this and we'll be right back. All right, so we have our tight bond all-purpose construction adhesive, model 3451. We sell this at the shop. We're going to use at least 1 tube on each side, and we're going to use 2 tubes on the back. So at least 4 tubes should be used. If you want to use a 5th tube, that's always okay. You just want to make sure that it sticks thoroughly. So I got this upside down. I like to put the caulking on it while it's upside down so that I can reach all the nooks and crannies. I'm going to just start on the bottom and work my way up, doing a nice big bead back and forth. You're just doing the side panels where the embossment is. You got that double-sided tape around the outside edge, so you're not going to need to worry about doing it there. I like to put a little on the edge on the side here, just a small little bead. That's going to seal it to the other corner. Alright, I'm just going to empty what's left of the tube. Make sure that I use the whole tube. And it's good to go. So now I'm going to pull the tape and install it. Alright, now that we got our panel flipped around, we want to make sure that we're in the same spot as we were before you stick these edges. And then you just kind of work it all the way around. I pulled the double-sided paper off of the tape. You can leave it on and just leave a tab out there and you can pull it down if you'd like. But I like to pull it ahead of time. And then you want to push it in nice and tight. This stuff doesn't need to flash, so you don't have to push it and then pull it back off. Another trick of the trade is we would recommend putting some tape in the corner. The reason why is if your caulking were to break, this is added insurance. Cheap added insurance while you're in here. Just run a bead of duct tape on the inside of the corner. Now we'll also tape this around to the wall so that if water were to get around it, you would be secure. Just like that. It gives you a little bit more insurance in the long term. Alright, so next we'll start measurements and do our side panel on the valve side. Alright everybody, so now we're going to be working on the harder section. This is probably the hardest piece when you're doing a surround, is to make sure you drill your holes in the correct spot. You only kind of get one shot at this. So what I like to do is the valve's back there, and I like to still test fit it to make sure that we're pretty close and everything lines up. You can't put it as tight as this side because there's a valve in your way. So everything looks to line up pretty well. stem in here. The reason why it was out is it makes it a little easier to test fit and you get a little tighter to your valve. So if you have to leave it in, that's fine too. But now you're going to take your tape measure and you're going to measure everything off of this back corner here. So 15, and I like to write my numbers on the wall so you can reference it immediately. You're not guessing what you have. And then you're going to measure from the lip of the tub up, and that was 4 3/16 for us. And then measure your valve. You put that number there, and the same for here. Measure up. So I use arrows to distinguish which direction these measurements come from, if it's off the back wall or up from the tub, so you can reference it again. And then what we're going to do is this lip on the bottom that sits here is where we're going to run our measurements up off of. So the one that's the toughest is this one here, because you can't put your tape on it, you can't hook it. So I recommend kind of holding your hand out here, or if you need somebody to help you, then you can hold out here and you can mark it. You can do it flat on a tabletop. You can take these numbers and go outside and do it out there. It may help. It's a lot easier to measure from out here, but it's a lot harder to try to figure out where your measurement's coming from. So I always recommend pulling from the corner, because you know that it's going to sit in the corner. You're guessing when it comes out here a little bit. So that's a little more accurate. So now we're going to drill a hole. This one's going to be like a 4-inch hole for this valve, and then we'll probably do around a 1-inch hole or 1.25 inches for the stem. Everybody's measurements may be slightly different, but that's about a typical size. So we're going to take this outside and drill it, and then I'll be right back. All right, so we brought this outside to an elevated work surface so it made it easier to drill. I got my 4-inch drill bit, and I got my 1.125 for the bottom. And we're just gonna line up on our thing and go very slowly. And this has a breaker bar on it so that we can make sure that we don't break our wrist. As you get through the end here, you want to be extra careful to not break it or tear it or anything. So as you see, I stopped a little early, and you can use a utility knife to finish it off so that you don't happen to damage your surround. I'll drill this bottom one and then I'll clean them both up. So I got a piece of wood underneath this so that I can have a solid surface to drill on. You want to take your time, because you kind of only get one shot at this, so make sure that you're not pushing too hard or trying too hard to drill it, and then you'll damage it. So now that we got two, we'll clean it all up from the dust, test fit it, and that's what we'll see again. All right, so we got our piece inside here. As you can see, our holes are drilled, and what we're going to do is test fit it again, make sure that we're good in here. Sometimes if your measurement's off just by a smidgel, or if your drill bit walks, you can easily clean this up with a utility knife. And you can adjust your holes just slightly if you need to. But other than that, it looks really good to me. And we're ready to glue this. So now I'm going to get a tube of glue and go through that same process that we did on the other panel. As I said, I like to flip it over and do it from the bottom side. So I'll get this glued up and we'll get it set, and we'll be back for the back panel. All right, so we got our back panel here. We installed both the left and the right panel, and now it's time to test fit your back panel. It gets a little harder with this back panel to do it by yourself, but it is plausible if you take your time. I like to do the left side first, or the side that the shower valve is on, or the tub valve, because it sticks out a little bit. So you want to put that side in first, then you'll pull out in the middle just slightly, and you can get these corners in, and then you'll push the air out and test fit it. You want to make sure that you line up in the top corners. You want to make sure that your tiles kind of line up, and that we're sitting fairly close to the bottom. And so looks good to me. So next we're going to get ready to glue this thing up, and then we'll put it into place. So stay tuned for that. So you want to make sure everything's roughly where you want it before you press it. We put I put two tubes on the back of the contact or the construction adhesive 3451 and tight bond. So we got a total of 4 tubes in this unit. This is the Permalux tub and surround kit from Lippert Components. So looks good. All right, so now that that is in, you go back and you press everything down after 15 or so minutes. You want to caulk the corners, so you'll use a white silicone in the corners, and then along the tub here you'll do the same. So after it sets for 10 or so minutes, come back, push it in, make sure that everything's still sitting nice and tight, and that is how you install a 3060 Lippert Components bathtub and surround. If you like this video, make sure to like it. We'd love for you to subscribe for future videos. So stay tuned for more content here from Kitsap Mobile Home Outfitters in Bremerton, and you have a great day.